Chuck Hyde. I've made a couple of comments about him. I've made comments to him and asked him things. I've also talked to the old comptroller of the city, talked to a couple of deputy city clerks, talked to the city of Richmond clerk. She had said some things that I overheard when I was walking in on the phone to a man that I'd spoken with before, and I don't have any problem with this man, but she had said some things to the president or the acting president of the city council, City of Richmond Council. I walked in and heard her saying that Misty said she doesn't think Carol Isaacs is stable. Now that's slanderous. And people could be held liable for that because I'm quite stable. I'm verified stable. And there's not going to be any of this crap of trying to discredit me because I found out about the fraud. That's the normal defense of big corporations. If you go and sue anybody, if you try to butt heads with any of these big corporations, they got to go with the nuts or slut defense. You're either nuts or you're a slut. That's common knowledge. So here's the deal. I caught all this, and I'm going to show all this, but I want to show this Charles HYDE because I'm going to show you where I wrote the prosecutor, and he tried to say, well, what minors are online, and I showed him, and he never answered, and he did not pursue Chuck Hyde. Why? Because Chuck Hyde's supplying the judicial mill, and he never gets in trouble, and Chuck Hyde was playing Charles Scott's role. I have talked to Charles Scott and Annette Scott, so I've talked to some of the homeowners. Well, actually, talked to they've been very open. So was Mr. Northrup. The other girl, the Mehaffey or Lane, Leslie K. Lane or K. Leslie Lane, she wrote me, but she did not call me, and I gave her my phone number. I'm not going to force these people to call me. They can know about it or not. I really don't care what they do. If they don't want to do anything, that's fine. But I do, because I tell you, they're going to take the children's inheritances. That's what they're setting it up for. When they backdate that Alta title policy in a potential buyer's name by a number of years, they make that buyer the seller at the closing table. And as a seller, the contract states that all the heirs and people, they give up their rights. So this is a crime, and it's being allowed in our community. This Chuck Hyde, it states in Annette and Charles Scott's cases that they, in one of the case summaries, I'll show it to you, that Annette Scott's lawyer filed papers for her. They state the name is Charles Scott. They take Charles Scott out of the bankruptcy, out of all in Richmond, Indiana, and the judge in charge of this case is Judge Horn. One of the things I do, let me go ahead and show that now. Right here, yes, this is it. This is for the 938 South 17th. If you'll see, this is in a different court. This is Jack F. Bakley, Deutsche Bank National Trust. Annette Scott, this gives her address, 938 South 17th, and Charles Scott. This is in front of Judge Colger, which I like him. I've dealt with him. He's been fair with me. But this, it shows that he filed an appearance, and they go on down. Files a notice of change of address. So they end up losing the house at this point, which is when Rachel was living at the 422 Randolph Street. This is a 938 South 17th that is tied to Rachel's address via the undisclosed land contract. That's got, it's not only undisclosed, there's a lot of discrepancies in it. It could be that the mineral rights and the surface rights belong to Pamela White. And Pamela White, Judge Horn represented her right before he became a judge, and he gave her address as West End Bank. We already know West End Bank and Paul Stickle and Kathy Puckett were all involved in fraud, but the only one arrested was Kathy Puckett. And I already know, talking to Neil Freeman, an FBI agent who handled the case back in 2008 through 2010, that he told me, he said, I felt really bad. Only the girl got in trouble. I wanted to get Mr. Stickle because what he did was fraud, and what you had that he did is fraud, but that he couldn't move on it. So here we've got officials in government and in the FBI that are being stopped from moving. Why would that be? Well, this shows the case is filed, of course, I say, in Judge Colger's court, and he handled it. If you go down, you'll see that they get a judgment on this. But let's look, because this is how they do it. That's part of the redocket case, and I have the redocket, shadow docket that this would go with. And here, there's Jack F. Blakely again with Doyle and Friedmeier, Deutsch Nash, as trustee for Carrington. This is Judge Horn's courtroom, D02, District 2, Circuit Court 2. It gives Annette's address, Charles. They come in, they file these appearances. This is the one that's tied to the 422 Randolph Street. And then they file for 710, a file motion for voluntary dismissal, order of dismissal. It is ordered that this cause is dismissed without prejudice. Why? Because they're going to redock it under the 422 Randolph Street. It's the same exact case, and if you'll look here, it overlaps by approximately 1 month. It says it's over with or disposed of 7/14/2008. 6/19/2008 is where they filed the same exact motion, so they got a month overlap. It doesn't list them as trustee here, however. And it goes on down and does all this, and then it says that they're going to file a notice of change of address. So let's go back up here to, let's go down here. This is the one. This is the 422 Randolph Street. Now you'll notice that the address is not listed here. You'll also notice that Betty Cross, William and Betty Cross, the probate ran through a special Hagerstown court. But this 2717 Northwest B, see the quotations? There's a special reason for that. That leads to Center City, Richmond, which is right in front of Abstract's title of Richmond. Sailor Street, which is a monument street, Sailor Street. They have Sailor Street Investments. Of course, the county and city attorney are housed and involved with Abstract's title of Richmond, and it's hooked on to U.S. Bank, the foreclosing bank that came against Rachel, the one that took a loan that they knew was false, and I can prove it. In the beginning, they came in and took what they wanted to, and the judge was told. He said in Rachel's case, nobody understands your case. Well, I don't know why he wouldn't. It's his shadow docket. What doesn't he understand about it? He understood. He just didn't want to admit he understood. It was his shadow docket that was put back into the discovery, sent registered mail. So this Stephanie Beckner is from Colorado. She used to work for the Finewell in Hanoi. And I have documents. I memorialized everything back in 2012. They started changing things in the system when I started complaining. And I have it memorialized. It's already been sent off. It's a done deal. So let's look at this Stephanie N. Beckner in this. And I did a video on this. And I think I'll just include it in on the end because I don't want to go through all this again. But here it gives her address as 202 North 16th Street. But the documents themselves are actually for the foreclosure, and this is how they do it. First of all, it was Mears, and they changed it. And they do the defendant, and then they do redockets. So that order, this is for the 422 Randolph Street. The 938 South 17th comes in, and they do it in parentheses. Notice up here, there is no address for 422 Randolph Street, but this is the address. This is the case that the one that I have, Bam Bam, Crook File, and the shadow docket. This is the case for the 422 Randolph Street. And Rachel was living in that house, making payments to U.S. Bank. However, we discovered it was the wrong person to be making the payments to. We stated very clearly in a one sentence, one of the defense sentences stated clearly that it was not her fault if the U.S. Bank was assigned the wrong loan. She's certainly not going to pay on a loan that's not hers, that belongs to the 10,007 State Road 38, the county property. And this judge knows it. Return of the summons. Okay, so I want to go down here and show where they start. They dismiss Jane and John Doe. It'll be in parentheses. There's a 938 South 17th. And I think the 422 Randolph's up here somewhere. There will be a redocket right before that 938 South 17th. So let me try to find this. There it is. They have it listed down here. The 422 Randolph Street. This is a 422 Randolph Street they foreclosed upon. Of course, see where it lists Gregory A. Horn as a party. Something else. And it isn't too hard to figure out what's going on. The reason they do these parentheses is because those aren't searchable. And that was one of the things that I believe it was Bruce that told me. And Bruce, I don't think he's there anymore. That, you know, he thought it was a sneaky way. I was finding Social Security numbers in the system. Of course, they've gotten rid of a lot of them since, but I do have those memorialized as well. So then parentheses, there's no search logic built in through DocsPop. So these are kind of like, it appears they're not part of the contract, but they are really. And 422 Randolph, and we'll go down and find, it'll say redocket in all capital letters. And every time there's a redocket, they will come in with a new property. Because there's more. This is something else what's going on here. There's a redocket. Right there. Let's see what address is going to be. We got a 713 South 9th Street. There'll be another redocket. There's a redocket. We got the 422 Randolph Street, the 938 South 17th Street, and the 917 South 9th Street. And then right here, defendant Annette Scott by attorney Charles Scott files notice of bankruptcy stay. Charles Scott files notice of bankruptcy stay. Received back from William Cross, deceased. He died in 2000 reportedly, or 1999. William and Betty Lou Cross, who knows? They could be related to Ron Cross. That's why Laura Roberts, the deputy sheriff, said they didn't talk to me when this happened, and she knew exactly what was going on. She said to go over and get this cause number. Now it had an extra at the courthouse. There's not 2 zeros. There's 2 zeros in one of them. So if you look at this, the file date was 2/24/2006. The disposition date was 6/27/2006. And after all the redockets that I showed you folks, it's going down. This is not a redocket into the same case. And the fact that Chuck Hyde is representing that he is Charles Scott is... He is Charles Scott in this case. So here it is, 4/12/2011, and they're still running, and it's not been disposed of yet. Now I can go back into, and I really don't want to get off track here, so I think that's good enough to show how they overlap these cases. I have a video on the 938 South 17th being tied to the 422 Randolph Street, the birth certificate of the mother being used with the other properties. And I think I'm just going to, I guess I could look at Rachel's very quickly. Oh, this is another thing. These are the tax warrants that they had on Annette. This is the one that was included in the reissued warrant that they used in this shadow docket. This is the warrant. And as you see, Annette Scott, I hope this is recording. Yes, good. 422 Randolph Street, tax warrant. New, 377 on 3/21/2003. She satisfied it supposedly. Now they had something going on with those tax warrants a while back. Let's go here so we can get into what I said about somebody being a partner with somebody. It's 95. It's a UCC. Horn and Hyde attorneys, Charles Hyde and Gregory Alton Hyde. Bank 1, Richmond. And Bank 1's tied to Deutsche Bank, and and Baker and Daniels were the attorneys in Indianapolis, in the Indianapolis office. I know that for a fact. So there's a termination of a UCC1, but this shows a relationship. Now, let's go into Charles.
Supreme Court.
Edward Thomas Kemp's clients contacted Call 6 investigator Kara Kinney for help, saying Kemp did not do the work promised. Call 6 investigator Kara Kinney joins us now with what she's uncovered. Kara.
Well, that's right, Todd. According to documents we obtained, the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission suspended Tom Kemp's license on July 3rd of this year for failing to complete his continued legal education. Records also show the commission opened 4 separate inquiries into Kemp's conduct since mid-2013. Now, some of Kemp's clients contacted the Call 6 investigators saying they've been unable to reach their attorney for months. David Butler says he hired Richmond attorney Edward Tom Kemp in July 2012 to handle his divorce and custody case.
I wrote him a $1,000 check. Let's get it going. Let's go. After a few weeks, I didn't hear nothing. Nothing was filed. Several phone calls, no return phone calls.
Butler says Kemp never did the work on his case, and he hasn't heard from the attorney in 2 years.
I had to retain me another lawyer to finish everything up for me.
Butler filed a complaint against Kemp with the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission. Don Rader also filed a complaint with the commission. He and his brother hired Kemp in March 2013 to handle their father's estate, but they say Kemp's been unreachable for months.
I want to see him brought to justice, whatever that might be.
Joe Phoenix hired Kemp in June 2013, paying him $750 to handle an expungement, but he says Kemp never filed the final paperwork.
It was real frustrating.
Phoenix says he has also been unable to reach Kemp for months.
That's just not right.
We stopped by Edward Thomas Kemp's home, called and texted him with no response. His private 8th Street office is now closed, and the public defender's office says Kemp stopped working for them last month. Don Rader says the day after the Call 6 investigators contacted Kemp, Kemp turned over Rader's file to Rader's new attorney, who is now handling the estate. Rader has also contacted the Wayne County Sheriff's Department and prosecutor's office. Both agencies did not respond to our request for comment. Kemp is not charged with a crime. As for David Butler, he wants his money back.
And I'd like to see him get disbarred, not be able to practice law here in the state of Indiana again. If he's going to treat people like this, hey, we all work for our money. Everybody don't have money just throw away like this.
Now, if you have a complaint about an attorney that you've hired, you can file a complaint with the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission, although much of their investigations are not public record. You can also seek assistance from the Indiana Bar Association, who has a financial assistance fund set up for victims of what they call dishonest lawyers. I'm Call 6 investigator Kara Kinney.
Kara, thanks. And our Call 6 investigators have learned Edward Kemp has ties to a former Richmond attorney who is facing criminal charges. Charles Hyde is charged with 26 counts of theft and was arrested last summer. He's accused of stealing from his clients. Edward Kemp served as Hyde's public defender, but Kemp no longer works for the public defender's office. Hyde's trial date has not yet been scheduled. Hyde resigned from the practice of law in Indiana.
Yeah. And we're going to go here. This is the Indiana Law Blog. Great site. I love the law. It's too bad that some of them, not all, but some of them are not practicing law and going by their own laws. You cannot do what's being done in these cases to people and think that you're going to get away with it. And I do not wish to ruin anyone's career. I thought, that if everything was put out there, that the right thing would be done, and it was not done. There was no justice at all. As a matter of fact, there's punishment if you come forward in this county. There's punishment at every step of the way except for the sheriff's office. And the new clerk, Deborah Berry, she's been very helpful to me. Another deputy clerk has been very helpful to me. So has one of the probation officers, Deidre Hall, and Captain Shake of the Richmond Police Department has been very honorable as far as I'm concerned. I don't care. My dealings with him have been great. there are other people as well, but the sheriff's office has been wonderful. They've actually helped. They're the ones that pointed me to the shadow docket. But as it says here, former Richmond attorney Charles Chuck Hyde Jr. was arrested Wednesday morning on 26 counts of theft for being formally charged. Wayne County's prosecutor office, 1973 Richmond High School graduate. Hyde resigned from the practice of law with the Indiana Bar on May 25, 2012. He can be reinstated in 5 years. He's moving for them to drop the charges as well. Let's go on. Here's on topics. I say something to him in here, and he just goes over my comments because he knows was pretending like he was Charles Scott, and Charles Scott knows what he's doing because I've informed him, and he was to have been on those things, on everything, on the houses that was foreclosed upon, and on the bankruptcy, and he was not. They're asking, does anyone know if Charles Hyde's office is still open? I can't get a hold of him either. Call Craig Parker if you want to get it done on North A Street. Friend was about burned by him till she reported him. Get back to you. I paid him in full and had an appointment to sign my petition, pay my filing fee. I went there the day of the appointment. His office was closed. I have also paid in full and received nothing. Girls in the office gave me a cell phone number. He won't respond to anything. And then there's, you can file a complaint, da-da-da-da-da. And then been there, thank you so much. Been there. Chuck Hyde's office is up for sheriff's sale on May 30th. He resigned from the State Bar Association, can't practice law for at least 5 years. He can apply for reinstatement then. Now, I found that out, not from here, but from my knowledge of the various codes and statutes that they have. Your service, and this is from Chuck Hyde, your service fails to provide even half of this story. Most of the bad press has been fueled by unethical, disgruntled former employees. Ripped off, he owed us around $200 for a bankruptcy, lying piece of you-know-what. P.S. We are not former employees. And then Philly Boone, so they go on to tell him that they were fighting to keep our home. I had to pay the money for copies of paperwork that you have on my file. I pray you see this post so that you may contact me. This is why I use my real name. Waiting to hear from you. 48 hours more, then I will take action to solve this matter on my own. I waited for 3 years for him to file. Person I heard it from never worked for Mr. Hyde. She's been waiting for a long time for her bankruptcy. Way too long. Speak out. And look at all these people. Let me go on down because I want to show. I'm so tired of this screen unless etc. Of course, there's Michael, and I've talked to Michael before. He's got a problem with the way things are handled because everybody gets in trouble if they go up against these city officials. And we're taxpayers. We obey the law. I have worked hard my whole life, raised my children right, and respected the law. And I still do think there's a lot of good men and women, but the system's running them at this point. This is me. I just spelled my name backwards. Hello, Mr. Charles Scott, or is it Mr. Bond today? Because the other owner of the property is Mr. Bond, the 3893. Anyway, the U.S. Highway 35 property. And then here's a loser town, karma. Maybe that's what you get for walking out on your obligations. And then he goes, my better judgment tells me not to respond, but I guess I will indulge this anonymous critic at least this once. I am, in fact, living in a so-called trailer park, and it is a wonderful community. I actually wish I'd moved there years ago. I am grateful to be there, growing healthier every day. I am, however, continuing amazed at how enthusiastically judgmental some people are and how they genuinely revel in another's misfortune. These very critics are silent when life is going good. I have not walked away from any loans. It is still my intention to pay all of my deserving creditors. I have been so very blessed over the years. I am grateful to God and to all my family, friends, and clients who step forward to help and encourage me. Thank you, Chuck Hyde. And so then I go in and write, what about Stickle and bankruptcy fraud in an insurance and bankruptcy mill? What about stolen identities of your partners in crime, state actors? Yes, it is a crime. Glad you are well and hope you have reformed your previously hidden back milled foreclosure mill. Remember the Scotts? Tell me Now, 9-year-old grandchild, and fix what you have done. All of the attorneys walked away from loans they created in this tax scam. And then I go on down. I started using my real name there. And Mr. Hyde, if another lawyer looked over your cases when you really should have made it, and he goes on, I tell him I contacted the Wayne County prosecutor and the police and nothing, and Mr. Hyde has been involved in bankruptcy and identity theft ring according to the documents I found at the courthouse. So I suspect he is in cahoots with others and in the private side of this fraud. Private side cannot operate in fraud or they lose immunity. Treasury Department Head Counsel of Treasury in Washington, Mr. Rich Delmar, told me that I have reported these crimes as there are many, and I mean many victims. I suspect he stepped down and took a little sweet deal to not tell on the others locally. So Mr. Hyde is not alone. Many involved. Who is Leslie K. Hyde? Who is Leslie K. Lane? So the feds now know why, because it took so long locally and it looks like a cover-up. They do not realize that many in this city also have attorneys and bankers and insurance agents in their immediate family. That would be me. A mother who's trying to protect her family is not a good idea, especially when she has everything she needs to prove it. And that is exactly why, without any kind of action, Judge Horn moved. Was not motion. You feel sorry for these crooks. They walk around like they are something, and their parents and grandkids would be ashamed of the behavior I have seen on paper. Arrogance is insecurity turned inside out. These crooks will eat each other very soon, scrambling to make a deal to escape prosecution. Shame on all of them taking land and prolonging this perpetual mill. It is nothing short of child slavery and now becoming a debtor prison county, literally speaking, because the warrants issued were not disclosed. That brings in some slaughterhouse cases and due process into the debtor-slave system in full swing. And then Chuck Hyde writes, to our knowledge, we sent letters to all known bankruptcy clients. As a precautionary measure, I also gave the prosecutor office my private cell phone number as an additional means to reach me. I've fielded hundreds of calls and texts on my private cell from clients a variety of issues, which included return of files and fees. Furthermore, I promptly transferred my office number to Attorney Zuckerberg so that my number rang into his office for the client's benefit to transition clients to Mark. It is still my hope and desire to pay all the deserving clients back that I can. I truly regret I was not able to personally complete all my cases, Chuck. And then it goes into disappointment. But as you can see, 2012 personally, I also fielded calls. He has totally ignored the fact that I called him Charles Scott. And that is silence. That is silence by, he's admitted it. When he's going and passing over what's posted from other people and totally ignoring that issue. And I've talked to Charles Scott, and he's hot. Because they know about it now. They seem like good people, too. A former Richmond attorney has asked that all 27 charges against him be dismissed in a case alleging he failed to perform legal services after receiving payment. There's also a criminal charge in there, a different one, and we'll look at that in a moment. Charles R. Hyde Jr., through his attorney Austin Shadle, filed the motion to dismiss Monday in Wayne County Superior Court 1. Judge Marion L. Voorhees of Delaware County Circuit Court, who was appointed as a special judge in the case, will decide the motion. Now, I need to check this because I'm pretty sure that I saw that if you bring in an acting judge on a case, there's only like 3 counties that they can bring him in on, and I don't believe she may be in that county, but I'm not sure. There must be a conflict of interest as well, so they had to bring in a special. Hyde has been charged with 26 counts of Class D felony theft and 1 Class C felony count of corrupt business influence. Charges originally were announced on the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office's Facebook page on June 21st, 2013. This is when I wrote to Michael Shipman, and I will show this, and asked him, he was picking and choosing his clients is what I accused him of, because I reported it to the police, tried to, and they would not. They said that the Lieutenant Attorney General had put out a memo that they were no longer to take identity theft reports. So from October 2012 until January 2013, I could not file identity theft reports. I had to go federal. That's when Laura Roberts in January helped me by making them take, and she said it's identity fraud, Carol. It's not identity theft. They've committed identity fraud, and you need to make sure you put that. So I filled out the report, their paper report, or Rachel did. We went down together, and we gave them the affidavit with the exhibits. It's a 5-page affidavit that I will show with the exhibits. And this Captain Profidio made me come back down, and he was very nice when he took it, but after reading it, he made us come back and get it. And he was pointing his finger in my face. I could see his gold ring, and he just had a great deal of fun. Aaron Stevens witnessed it and said, "Are you all right, Carol?" And I said, "No, they're not doing anything about this." So he had me take back my evidence, and I wrote him, I had brought a summary down, and the girl goes, "I can't take it. I'm not allowed to take it." So I sent it registered mail to him and told him, "You're not going to make this identity fraud report look like nobody submitted evidence." And I put in there that he made me come and get the evidence, which is obstruction of justice. So we'll go down to charges originally announced in Wayne County's prosecutor on June the 21st, 2013. HYDE resigned on May 25th, 2012. Of course he did. He was arrested on August 7th, 2013. The motion to dismiss lists several reasons for the court to throw out the 27 counts, including the alleged offenses do not constitute theft, that the allegations failed to show HYDE had fraudulent intent. The prosecutor refused to take the case for Rachel, so he is allowing him to get away with what he's done, and it's bad. It's really bad what he's done. And I tell you, there was a federal attorney that would have liked to have handled this, but he can't because MetLife has many attorneys, and if you're an attorney and you represent a big client that's involved, then you would have a conflict of interest with taking such a case. So on that level, on the federal level, that there are a few that I've talked to, a few that I've actually interviewed and spoken with private, and I have a friend, someone, a family member that I love very much, that has told me, if anything happens to you, I'll be there for you, but I can't handle it because he is, MetLife is a client of ours, and MetLife became his property. The motion also says charges against HYDE do not allege this. Now, this is what I'm going to do. We had tried, I'd called the prosecutor. They said the police had to pursue. Of course, the police, like I told you, Captain Profidio wouldn't take the report. And this was on June the 24th, 2013. I'll have to, anyway, it's around the time that article was produced. And I said, "Hello, Mr. Prosecutor. Can you tell me why you would not look into my daughter and grandson's identity theft? The cause number involved in her wrongful foreclosure had HYDE acting as Charles Scott. Just letting you know, it is not okay to pick and choose who you help. My daughter and grandsons are fighting this group on their own, and no thanks to you or the police." How appalling. A taxpaying, law-abiding person goes to you, and you and Profidio blew me off. "It is okay, but they may be why your citizens have to go to the feds, since no one would even take an identity theft report. Anyway, look up cause number ending in MF025 under Mears versus Annette and Charles Scott in 2006. Then go to the clerk's office and have a look at all the forging he did concerning a William and Betty Cross. Chuck was Charles Scott, and he is using an ID of a man from 1909 here in Indiana. Now, that may not be the case because Charles HYDE has now came forward. However, there is a Charles Scott that was a veteran, and they're doing things with Veterans Home. The Mehaffey property in Greens Fork, but used to belong to a veteran. And that girl, I'll show you where she contacted me, and she did not write me back, but she wanted to know everything, and I told her she'd have to call me. I needed to know who I was speaking with. So I just assumed that since the county attorney is the president of the title company that aided and abetted this fellow, and since you would not discuss what I told you and Mr. Profidio would not accept the evidence I gave him, you were the county attorney's puppet, as well as if you do not call me, and if you want to take a second listen, call me. And I gave the number. So he does this up thing, and he said, "Miss Isaacs, you will get a better response from me if you are not rude and have a little decorum. For one thing, I'm past decorum at this point. We're not in a courtroom. This is a Facebook. This is a communication to try to get him to do something. And he knows I'm damn mad. I called the prosecutors and talked to the secretary, and she even admitted I found Michigan warrants. Here in Wayne County, Michigan warrants in Wayne County, Indiana. She told an attorney. This is the lady who found the warrants from that database. So if a crime has been committed, the police are responsible for completing an investigation and sending it to our office. An attorney would then review it and decide whether sufficient evidence exists to file criminal charges. We don't pick and choose who to help. We file charges based strictly on the strength of the evidence. If the evidence is there, we file. If the evidence is not there, we don't. If someone in our office declined to file, I can share the reasons for our decision. People sometimes disagree with our decisions. That is okay. If the police did not investigate it and send it to us, your remedy lies with the police department or supervisor there. The police do not work for me. If the feds took the case, then there is nothing our office can do. Dear Mr. Shipman, and of course I write something. I have this point lost my civility. I apologize. Because see, you got to kiss his ass. I heard he's offering his CIs. Their girlfriends have to have sex with him, and that's what's going around in the jails. So that's what. Did you tell me or a man in my office? We have lots of men in my office. So Captain Perfidio declined to investigate the complaint. Sometimes the police will look at the case and determine it is not criminal or there is insufficient evidence to file it. I tell you, these people need to go to jail for what they've done. And he's been taken off of cases. I put there was sufficient evidence. It involves backdating the Alta title policies in a potential buyer's name by years. When the insurance is backdated in a potential buyer's name instead of the seller or owner's name, this makes the buyer the seller at the closing table. The fraudsters left their file in the homeowner's folder. There is a veteran or two property involved, and they do not disclose this, but charge our government via an ill-gotten insurance policy. There was a forged affidavit that stated this young lady was married and that this was included with an affidavit of identity theft submitted to the IRS. There is also documents presented as exhibits via the affidavit. I have an affidavit. Would you like to review it or look at it? What I have against Charles Hyde? Mr. Shipman, I'm not certain I spoke with you without my notes, but I wanted to clarify or restate I spoke to a male. I thought I spoke to you, but am uncertain. I did not go into great detail, but I do want to report anyone. I do not want to report anyone in my community. I hired an attorney and talked to some congressmen and women. It is not my desire to punish the police, no matter how misguided they were at this instance. I already apologize, and I hope you accept it. I am a mother worried about what has happened to my daughter, and according to that cause number, happened to many of my first-time home buyers and their children. So I had ladies at Administration Building and Courthouse who helped me, and the Deputy Sheriff, Laura Roberts, was instrumental in getting us to be able to finally file an identity theft report for Rachel and her sons. Many people in our government have helped, but it is very frustrating when a person comes forth with a legitimate complaint and they are treated as a criminal. The 2006 cause is a mortgage foreclosure, and the court docs pop system shows it is a one property cause, and in reality it was full of other cause numbers, which I meant properties, redocketed, not actually showing as redocketed. And it shows clearly Chuck Hyde in bankruptcy and is actually still ongoing, although the last property in this little bundle they did was 4393 State Route 35, Richmond, Indiana. I handed over a disc with an affidavit, attachments, evidence that very day when Abstracts of Richmond was named as a closing company. The RPD evidently were instructed to give me the evidence back. We went to Clayton Miller. He saw, and he was upset. He sent us to Andrew Thompson for the undisputed since October 22nd, 2012 wrongful foreclosure against Rachel Diddy by U.S. Bank. The foreclosure is not the issue. The fraud is. And I feel and believe under the law that the fraud should be investigated. And I can tell you with certainty, Mr. Perfidio told me that RP&D nor the state of Indiana would be investigating. That is not all of what has happened, though, So if you would call me, or may I call you, I have poor eyesight and poor spelling, so I apologize for this as well, blah, blah, blah. Go into this great detail, and then I go and show him things. And when I mentioned, dear Mr. Shipman, this is in August 2003, just wanted to see, did you check the cause number ending in 025, the Smears versus Annette and Charles Scott 2000? Just checking. I have appointments this week and next week. Need to know if you bothered looking into it. Also, can they list minors, specifically a 6- and 7-year-old in DocsPop? They are getting a divorce. They are my grandchildren. Do you want to, this is a different set of grandchildren. Do you want to look into this since our police will not? Take identity theft reports, and the victims of this Chuck Hyde have been chosen as far as prosecution. Do not include any of my family. Just a thought, you may want to check it out unless you wait on the police to allow you to protect. Can DocsPop list person's social security numbers in parentheses? Allen County has a Wayne Township, correct? Well, but the other night I was sitting here and someone starts sending me deletion pages from DocsPop where some persons had been deleted from the records. All the records I have are already gone long time ago, which means I copied them and sent them to disk and sent them to the Secret Service and the feds. So it's showing the changes these folks are making. And by the way, also, I since then have changed my stance on many things. I've been chosen as far and do not include my family. I forget what I was going to say. Miss Minors, they're getting a divorce. These are my grandchildren. Yeah. You are who I'm supposed to tell, and I have, so I am informing you of the latest events and want my grandchildren off this list, which is in DocsPop. I would like to file an identity theft report as well, so please let us know so we do not have to go to the federal agency because a local enforcement refused to take our reports. I have 8 grandchildren, and they are all in your DocsPop partner system as being parties. It is no mistake and totally unacceptable. Thank you. Then I am not posting publicly. What an embarrassment and scandal, and it is not going away, so please do something. You can and do not. I am embarrassed for my community. It needs to be fixed no matter what the reason it was found. The fact is it is true and cannot be swept under the rug. So act interested because others are, and it is not, nor has it ever been my desire to take any further than reporting and look at how I've been treated. Like I'm telling on drug dealer or something. This involves minors and not just one. And I put the names Shannon and David Weissong. Megan Riley is 8 years old. David Weissong is 10. They're listed under their own parents' cause number, but separate, and they are divorcing. So can you look into it? Da-da-da-da-da. They put me through to the clerks of court, Stacy Terry, and the young lady who answered. Now, Stacy Terry is also Stacy Lane in this case. She's playing double roles. She's also signing away support and then keeping the back warrants, and they're flying over to Ohio because they're using the warrants to take property over there under various names. This is a multi-state scam, just like the multi-state notes is the mortgage. Who answered finally advised me that she did not know who or how to fix this. She advised me to get an attorney, so I seek another route to correct these errors. Are you all allowed to post minors' information this way? I really just would like to know if this is acceptable to post the information on DocsPop. Minors' information? What do you mean? There are no minors posted. All are adults. Megan Riley Weissong and David Jr. Weissong are listed under cause number 89 C01-0706-DR-076. These are the minor children of Shannon D. Weissong and David E. Weissong. The same cause number it has Megan and her brother David J. They are 8 years old and David is 10, and the action is in regards to marriage, and the adults listed action just states civil as a civil case, but the same numbers. So I put Stacy Terry told me that this was for medical support as they had filed for divorce and had some recanted the action. However, it is in DocsPop and readily accessible, and the child support office told me yes, it concerns the minor children. She told me after a few minutes to hire an attorney. There are more. I have had time with some identity theft issues, and I have hired help to try to identify someone named Bond, who is Chuck Hyde, and he is also known as Charles Scott. It is in the hundreds. He took my grandson's identity, went down to Spencer County, Indiana, then in another county reportedly at Collins, have custody of this fiction child. I suspect they changed his name because of the tax warrant fraud that they are using our honorable court as a vehicle to facilitate. This is why I'm so upset. I make no mistake. Da-da-da-da. And of course, I go down and I tell him, minor children still posted in DocsPop, right? He's saying there's no minor children, but they're still posted in DocsPop, right? Let's go down to August 29, 2000. Minor children, September 10th, 2000. This corrupt system, please. And then we go on 9/10. I have the files. May I send them to you anyway? Will that be okay? Now let's go to the young lady who was here we go. Let's look at her email that the emails that I sent her. Oh, she unfriended me. Isn't that funny? And I may have to go back and find where I kept it. There we go. "16 mutual friends, Shirley Seal Wright and Jameson Kelly. Hello, my name is Leslie. On your list of 3 homes, mine is a second home. Should I be worried? You can call me." And no, I do not think so, but I will share with you what I have found on that property. I'm glad you got in touch. I was not sure about approaching the homeowners, and I never was. The 10,007 was in the sale of the 422 Randolph Street in the title work. It was reportedly for one home, 422 Randolph, so I will show you what I have found. Scott is the other name, and bond on the home and bond on the homeowners. Abstracts of Richmond had your property in their 11-page fax, and it was for Rachel's 422 Randolph Street, owned by Charles and Annette Scott. If you would feel more comfortable, give me your email. I will email you the document that shows your property in the transaction with Rachel at the 422 Randolph. They also altered loan and changed the date on yours by 1 whole year. Not you, but the title company. And she gave me that. And I said, and she goes, "Thank you for your help and bring this issue to everyone's attention." Sure thing. I sent to you. Now, I did not include the whole 11-page fax, but as you will see, the fax transmission is clearly on the 10,007 address, and I have the whole thing. But you need to contact me, because for all I know, you could be anyone, and I am not willing to send all 354 pages unless we talk. And then I give her the Bam Bam file. But when I went to Leslie K's page, let's go ahead and look at this, because she has, then I need to do this for the Scotts. There we go. Sue Lane Scott. And this is for Charles and Annette Scott. This is going to be important because they don't know her. So, and these folks did not call me back. So far, Northrop's called me or talked to me, and he was very open. He said that councilman helped him refinance the home, and then the commercial property that's got my birth certificate tied to it. And the Bonds have called me after his cousin Benny got in contact with me. So she's suspect. Now let's go here while we're at it. Let's go here and see what happens with this. She's a nice lady too. And she was the one when I walked into the city clerk's office, because I found 0 numbered properties, lots of them. Well, they tried to fix it, and Tony Foster made a big speech February 3rd, 2014 on, they were laughing, stating how they were going to, not everybody, but a few of them, probably Sally and Tony were laughing that everybody thought they owned their property, but they don't. And they're now going to put it back on the tax roll. I never got my question answered either. Monica, check out my post from the PAL item. It starts with Mark Thomas, top commentator on the PAL item, is attempting the usual stifle comments. Please check it out. I know you're outspoken and would like your opinion. Which article was it? I haven't seen the paper yet. Today's, I believe. I am reading what was on Facebook. Yes, I am outspoken, but because there is a councilman involved in the conversation, it is about a city ordinance because of my position as a deputy city clerk, I am unable to comment. This office has to show impartiality even if we don't agree with what is going on. I know that the reporters are under a lot of scrutiny with the higher-ups at the paper, and what they write doesn't always make print or is edited by these higher-ups. When I submit something, I usually have to nag them to get it printed. I am not making excuses. I just have to watch what I say and do because of my job. I hope you understand on county issues I am allowed to voice my opinion if I choose, but on city matters I am not so much. I understand, and Mr. Quinn was gracious. I'm just sick of stifling and getting nowhere quickly. I did not put down any aspect of my government or the employees. I expressed our belief, and it does not look good to even kid around about someone stating that they are accepting gifts or bribes, but thanks. I am finished now, feeling better, and I'll delete the message. Lol, I am. Carol, unfortunately in politics there's a whole lot of you. Scratch my back, I will scratch yours. That goes on. It might not be in a form of a gift, but there are many other things at play. I don't like to play those games, and I promise no one anything. What I say and do is what I think is right and is my opinion. Keep on with what you believe, and don't let anyone take that away from you. You have a right to your opinion. There are things that you have seen that other people haven't. Trust me. You've been there, done that. I won't. Let me delete anyway. This conversation never happened. It was private. Sorry, dear. I think when you message someone it is private and doesn't show up anywhere. What I don't want something on a feed, I will message the person as it doesn't show. Monica, this is such a sad state of affairs. This city is refusing to even listen to what others are seeing. Carol, what are you referring to? Identity theft of minors and the use of our their social security numbers and fraud. The fact Miss Lane is involved. Do you know her? No, who is she? Stacy Terry Lane or her sis or someone that knows her? I just talked to Misty and she is so upset, but it has to stop, Monica. Misty is not upset with me, but with the other persons. I was told by a federal source that this will stop and it is very serious. It is okay, dear. I am not sharing any emails with anyone. Da-da-da-da-da. Well, maybe our local police will listen to Misty. I know since I've worked at the city, there are a lot of things that our police department is investigating that isn't public knowledge for a reason. Hopefully that is the case here. Not only is this a problem with minors, but people are using social security numbers of people that are deceased. See, I told you. So, and I think I might delete that out because I told Monica I would delete it. But I'm sure that a lot of people have seen this. Let me go to, I'm trying to remember that girl's name that used to be the comptroller. Well, let's go to see Misty. Misty's been very nice. There's Charles Scott who contacted me. Let's look at Phil Quinn. Because I said something to him in the Facebook page. Oh, that's happy birthday. Yeah, because I don't want him to think I'm all bad guys. But I wanted him to know somebody's watching him. So basically, when I went up and accepted the oaths, I was basically shaking their hands to let them know that somebody out here cares what goes on in this city. And with our tax dollars. We met for coffee, Tammy Glenn and I did. So we had a talk, and I have private notes, and that's been, she's involved because they're trying to blame her for a bunch of stuff, and she has proof that they're all involved. So since 2012, I've been knocking my head up against the wall to no avail. And the public officials know about it, and they're doing nothing. Now, Misty, I didn't get to find Misty on here, did I? When I walked into this office, there were some things being said by the city clerk. She reported that it was to Mr. Clayton. But I overheard her, and Monica was sitting there. I said, is she talking about me? And Monica goes, I think so. So I went in and I said, I overheard that. And I said, I want you to know I'm stable. There's nothing wrong. I have identity theft of grandchildren and I'm upset about it. A normal person that wouldn't be upset, a person who wouldn't be upset about this would be the one who's a problem, not I. There we go. And I like Misty just fine. I try to encourage her, and at least, you know, she's up there trying. I wish I could try. I wish I could contribute, but I'm very, very sick, and I'm not supposed to live. But before I die, I tell you, this is not going to go over like this. She listened to all these, though, Misty did, and she tried to get Chief Wolski to take the complaint, and he wouldn't. He wouldn't even call me back. So finally, what happened was I reported it to the Corruption Task Force, Tim Horty, and I'll show those emails. And Chief Wolski had my husband and I come down, so he said he was in a hurry. I said it should just take 30 minutes. I explained very, very quickly. He caught on, and I said, let me show you on the computer. And I took him over to the computer, and I showed him the warrants. And do you know, the next week, all that was done was the warrant database was taken off of DocsPop. But they do not understand that there is still a way. When there's hyperlinks, there's ways. So they have to keep it open. At the time, right before February the 3rd, 2014, there were 0 numbered properties in the property card system. They took it down. The property card system, however, I had copied hyperlinks, and I got in and found out it was still open. They knew I had discovered this and had complained, and then Tony Foster tried to come in and cover it up. But they're taking blight money, and they're also, on these dockets, redockets, they're collecting insurance on fake mortgages. It's a crime. I'm going to try to find. No one in the city building cares for me. A lot of it has to do with serving as a Republican chair and beating Sally. When she was a Democrat chair, I have tried to cut positions in the building as well. But this is where I tell her. And I couldn't type right because my fingers get sore. This is right after I went in to the city building, March the 12th, to trying to get an audience before the Common Council on this Ordinance 1 or 2, 2014, that ran before the City of Richmond Common Council. Carol, thank you for sharing what you heard. Please remember, I'm not liked in the city building by anyone. I do want to talk to you. Sometimes communicating through an email, Facebook is good, and other times not. This is one of these occasions I would prefer to talk to you. I will call you tomorrow, probably afternoon. And she did call me. And I was very upset. Anybody would be. So here's the main one. I'm a peaceful and stable person. Misty, very sad to hear that you thought the worst of a citizen who is very concerned for the public due to the fraud in the land records. Tim Horty is who made Chief Wolski investigate previously. And now it appears, because Tim Horty told me that if somebody, because I thank Misty for helping me to get Chief Wolski to take the report, and that's what I told Chief Wolski, that I'd like to thank him and Misty. He never said anything, and she never said that she wasn't the one who did. She may not have known, but Tim Horty said she didn't do it. I did. I made him because he didn't want to do his job, and I told him he better take your report. And Tim Horty had me reporting it to the one who was perpetrating it. So when I went in to talk to Monica Byrne, to the city clerk, I heard the city clerk, Karen Chastain, I believe. Anyway, she said, Misty said Carol isn't stable. And so when I came back, I wrote around this time, I think it was that day, or near that day, March 3rd, 2014. I am a peaceful and stable person, Misty. Very sad to hear that you thought the worst of a citizen who is very concerned for the public due to the fraud in the land records. Tim Horty is who made Chief Wolski investigate previously. Now it appears I have been diagnosed by non-medical or mental health professionals as, and I couldn't even spell it, not stable. Carol, help me. What are you referring to? My computer froze up, so sorry for the typos. You are welcome to call me, and I assure you I'm not insane or unstable, as the city clerk had relayed to Clay that you stated I was not stable. That is what I walked into. The clerk telling Clay you said that, and I addressed the issues with her. She said, I know you were there, and I was just relaying what I was told. That is a quote, by the way. My computer is very slow due to my grandchildren downloading some apps. Please give me a call if you can. And then I wrote, I forgive all of you for the misapplied label of me. I am certifiably sane and have seen the best of mental health professionals, and I have no disorders, or am, and I should have put in very stable. I am emotional when it comes to my family, but I am perfectly able to speak publicly to any forum. And I trained as many as 200 employees under me in many auditoriums with no insults or accusatory phrases such as she is not stable. So I'm just informing you that it could be a real issue if anyone is looked upon that way when they wish to address the Richmond City Commission and was overlooked and actually denied an audience with all of you. Carol, thank you for sharing what you heard. Please remember I'm not liked in the city building by anyone. I do want to talk to you, sometimes communicating through email and Facebook. Okay, so that's what happened there. And I think that's enough. I think that I have more than proven the facts of what I have done and haven't done on that level. Now let's just go to my email and let's take a look at Chief Wolski. I think we're done with Charles Hyde. Yeah. That's good enough for me. Nope, wait, let's go to, I think we need to go to Docs Pop. I showed Chuck Horn. Chuck Hyde, I mean. And I think that's enough. We'll just go down through here just to show all the horns, because this is public accessible material, and this is all in Wayne County. Quite a bit, huh? Over 500. And then it stops right there. There we go. So what I did was a search under Charles Hyde in all the counties in Indiana, and it brought up 165 documents under the records search, by the way. This is all the prosecutor has to do. He won't do his job because they all know about this fraud. Him and Paul Stickle are the ones that supplied the system. And the system was set up in the 50s and 60s. There was a corrupt culture in this community. So let's see here. There's Wayne County. There's a Leslie K. Hyde. There's that UCC 1. That's him then. Partners with the Horn and Hyde attorneys, and nothing's being done. They think they're high and mighty and they're above the law, and they're the ones sending people to prison, and look at what they've done. So here's a lot of properties, huh? He's down to none, but I'm sure he's just hiding them. See, Wayne County, for sure. These are all Wayne County, right? Leslie K. Hyde. The person listed at the 10,007, and I have that in the Bam Bam Crook file, the dates and showing how U.S. Bank knows what's going on in these three properties. They weave in and out of it. She's named Karen Leslie and Leslie K. So she's named two ways. And then, as I showed you on Facebook, she's under bond. Oh, here's a plat. Let's see more. I hope that's not Jay Oler's dad. I'm friends with Jay Oler. He was the engineer at Hofco. I hope that's not his deceased father. See, Roberta L. White. That's could be Pamela White, but here's all the these are deeds. April 27, 2015, December the 2nd, 2014, April the 15th, 2011. Now, he's not a lawyer anymore, so these are cross-references, right? So we're going to go back up here because I want to show you the cases in the system on him. They can all get mad at me. I don't care. They don't care what I think. I don't care what any of them think anymore. And I'm going to have to go ahead and report them to two more people now. So we got 148 cases in Wayne County alone. These are all open. When they show, it'll show closed, but when they have this going on in DocsPop, there's a system that they use. They'll go in and funnel the funds through, like, say, the finance system. Now, here's a guardian ad litem for a divorce. And here's tax warrants, right? He'll get out of this through bankruptcy because he's committing bankruptcy fraud. Every single house that was involved in that file and other files that I've seen, he files bankruptcy for him for. He's in trouble for bankruptcy fraud with his clients, and nobody's doing a thing to him because of what? Some sense of loyalty with a crook? This is criminal. Let's open. Let's look at this. Michael Shipman. We'll look at him too. He's about a joke. And this is his trailer. Michael Dean, that's the guy who was in Zachary's trial, who was all over Zachary when clearly the Wayne County prosecutors have had absolutely no reason to prosecute him. They don't even have any proof. This is why Mr. Connor didn't want me to mention his name, and he acted like the thing was being tape recorded. And if it was, somebody can pick up that tape recording and hear me talking about this Charles Hyde to Connor. He didn't tell me he was his attorney, but I was in there with Zachary. That was the time that Mr. Connor, and the last time I went in there with Zachary, uh, Zachary wanted me to go in, thank goodness. He was making, the first two times he made comments about marijuana, which is unwise because right after that Zachary was arrested for marijuana. I told Zachary, this isn't Colorado. You cannot have marijuana in this state. And I told Mr. Connor when I went in, I said, he absolutely cannot be saying stuff like that because he got arrested for that. So he had just turned 18 at 9 days after 18. And them saying those statements, I guess the first statement he told him in November of 2014 was that Mr. Shipman doesn't prosecute marijuana crimes. Give me a break. They're prosecuting anything they can because they want that money. I've got proof that they have ghost prisoners, and I know how they do it. They change the bed vacancy count, and that brings up the number of available beds. That's how they're hiding this fraud behind the scenes. I understand exactly what's going on here. So these are all this man's public defenders. I want you to look at that. Marion Voorhees, and she's from Muncie, Indiana, and the people involved are from Muncie, and Muncie just got busted for the fraud. Neil Freeman knows about that, and this is going out to Neil. So here's a bunch of theft, right, that he's trying to get out of. He probably will, because he's involved in the judicial mill. There's an affidavit, 6/21/2013. 6/21. Special judge, Delaware. There's an order out when they bring in special judges and conflicts of interest arise. They can't come out of this county. There's 3 counties that can come out of according to local rules, and this isn't one of them. So I'm sure they're all agreeing, and it's okay, right? It's not okay with me. Bills set at $10,000. In defendant's name only authorized. Entry for initial... Okay, let's see this. On a basis of evidence, the court finds there is probable cause of the arrest of defendant on such charges. Bail is set at $10,000 with 10% cash in defendant's name only authorized. Entry for initial hearing held on August 6, 2013 in the Wayne Superior Court Number 2. Disc 23, cause set for retention of counsel hearing on September the 3rd. Now, this Superior Court Number 2 is Judge Horn's court, correct? This is before, let's see if this is before there is a special judge. Nope. But they brought her into Superior too. Let's see if they did. If it says D2 up at the top, that'll surprise me. That's something I didn't know. It says D01. But down here it's showing Superior too, which is Judge Horn's court. Superior Court 1 files request for appointment of special judge. That's on 6/24/2013. So Superior Court 1 files a request for appointment of special judge. Delaware Circuit Court Number 1, 100 West Washington Street, Washington. Case is set for initial hearing on August 6. And then we go down. Entry for initial hearing held on August 6, 2013 in the Wayne Superior Court Number 2. Disc 23, calls set for retention. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Trial on January 13th. Bail is set in the sum, and it goes on down. Let's go down to see what he's done here lately. Notice of filing amended information. The court orders Patrick Riggins be appointed as counsel for defendant at public expense, and that the appearance of E. Thomas Kemp, previously appointed by the court at public expense, be withdrawn. At the public expense, huh? This is how we operate in this county? Pauper counsel appointed. The court orders that Austin B. Shadle be appointed. Austin B. Shadle. September 19th. Pretrial hearing held on September 19th. Special Judge Voorhees appears telephonically. State appears by Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Michael Dean. Prosecuting Attorney Michael Shipman appears. The defendant appears by counsel Austin Shadle. Defendant appears in person. Defendant. This guy knows how the mill goes, and they're tag teaming in here. And I can explain that further if I need to. And I already have an affidavit, statement of an affirmation in the nature of an affidavit of fact. I don't just have one on the grandson. I have one on my son who's overseas, and his fiance or his wife and their 2 children. And then I have one for Shannon and David Weissong, my daughter, my other daughter, and then for Rachel and her 2 children. That's my other child. And my niece, Teresa Irene Srell and her husband, or Teresa Irene Webb and her husband Gary Webb, and my 2 dead brothers, Paul and Travis Rose, and for my entire family, basically. See, in Indiana, if you make a mistake spelling a name, they don't hold it against you. But this is the thing. They're not mistaking this. They're doing this on purpose. This is no mistake. So here we have Michael Shipman, prosecuting attorney, files appearance on 12/18/2014. State of Indiana files notice of deposition. State of Indiana files notice of deposition. Motion for appointment of co-counsel. Pending motions will be heard on February 20th, 2015. Michael Shipman files appointment of Michael P. Dean as Deputy Prosecutor, oath of Deputy Prosecutor. Defendant by counsel files defendant's verified motion to continue pretrial hearing. Timothy Neal, prosecuting attorney, files appearance. Defendant's motion to continue pretrial hearing approved and granted. Defendant by counsel. Defendant's 6th notice of discovery compliance. Defendant by counsel files defendant's verified 3rd motion to continue trial. Order continuing and resetting 5-day jury trial on October 26, 2015 at 8:30 a.m. Hearing set on pending issues currently set for March 20th, 2015 is now continued and reset for April 21st, 2015. That's my birthday, April 21st at 8:30 a.m. I'm sure it's in Judge Horn's courtroom. Because what's going on in Rachel's case is they've got 2 plaintiffs or 2 defendants, and they don't think anybody knows that this is a crime that's punishable by at least 25 years in prison. They're taking a chance every time they do this. What they've done to us, they're taking a chance every time, and they didn't think anybody could figure it out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. Calls called for hearing on pending matters. State of Indiana appears by Michael Shipman and Timothy Neal. Defendant appears in person. Now, Michael Shipman was off a bunch of cases, and he's corrupt for sure. He has done absolutely nothing. Defendant appear. If they want to find out who's bringing the drugs in, maybe they ought to look for the attorneys that are giving all the drug dealers credit cards to sell for half price. Give me a break. If you're a waitress in this town and you've been around this city as long as I have, you know things. And I'm telling you, it's not just the drug dealers in this town. Who's bringing in the drugs? You think it's a bunch of young guys only? Or a bunch of blue jean wearing hippies? I don't think so. Appears in person with counsel Austin Shadle. Evidence of argument are heard, and the court takes the matter under advisement. So this was on 4/21. Defendant's 7th notice of discovery compliance. Court finds that second attorney to assist Mr. Sayers should be appointed and appoints Nathaniel Connor. On 4/24/2015, motion to dismiss is set for August 13th, 2015. Entry made for hearing held. April 21st, 2015. See order. Nathaniel Connor, public defender, files written appearance. 4/28/2015. And that would be before, this was before, or right around the time I talked to him. I'm going to have to ask Zachary. This was an appointment with him. And he told me I could, whenever I started talking, he asked me what I knew. And then I told him, he started looking around like he didn't want anybody hearing this tape on me, right? And if I find out they're investigating me and didn't investigate these guys, they're in deep shit. For sure. This motion to dismiss all counts. Response to defendant's motion to dismiss and request for leave to amend information. Brief in opposition to defendants. Order granting state's motion to dismiss counts and the state's motion to amend and denying defendant's motion to dismiss all remaining counts on 8/21/2015. And I want you to look. The taxpayers have paid way more than anybody for this fraud. This pisses me off. I'm sorry, folks. This all has to come out. It's public knowledge. It has to come out. So sorry. Here's a mortgage foreclosure, right? There's one too. Oh, let's look at these guys. Oh my goodness. This actor has more than 1,000 cases. Please select additional criteria for the cases you would like to see. This is how many cases he has. This is too bad because Zachary's been treated like a piece of crap. And the fact is, the prosecutor knows full well, based on those reports I'm about to show, I'm going to have to show it now. They know full well they had no right putting in a fake affidavit to the judge. And then Mr. Connor, according to Zachary, told him that there is no way he is going to give that affidavit or that evidence to the judge. I think that Judge Todd would have a right to know what is going on here. But that's not going to happen, is it? And that's for my grandson's defense. And it's not happening. It's on now. I'm reporting everyone to the bar. Everyone that was involved. Not now, but everyone that was. This is it. Okay, we'll just look at this. Search for a different actor. There's over 1,000 cases. He has 3,000 something, and I've talked about that. There's a senior. That must be his father. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Louise M. Garrett, Charles Hyde Sr., 419 South 4th. This is Judge Snow. Judge Snow was in charge of Abstract's title of Richmond, too. At one time. Now Ron Cross is, which is, you know, there's William and Betty Cross, and I think that's about enough. I'll go into more later.